Everyone can be seated. Now, members of the jury, prior to calling the first witness, I will present to you an instruction. Julie Schenecker is currently being administered psychotropic medication under medical supervision for a mental or emotional condition. Psychotropic medication is any drug or compound affecting the mind or behavior, intellectual functions, perception, moods, or emotion. It includes antipsychotic, antidepressant, anti-manic, and anti-anxiety drugs. And with that, State, you may call your first witness.
Officer Gregory Noble.
Do you swear or affirm testimony you will give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Proceed, please, right here.
May inquire, Counsel.
Thank you. Please state your name, sir.
My name is Gregory Noble, N-O-B-L-E.
How are you employed?
I'm employed by the Tampa Police Department.
What is your present assignment?
I'm assigned to the Detective Bureau in District 3,
How long have you been with Tampa Police Department?
approximately 5 years.
Were you employed and working on January 28th of 2011?
Yes, sir, I was.
What capacity were you assigned on that date?
I was assigned to District 2 Uniform Patrol Division.
What district, sir? I'm sorry.
District 2 Uniform Patrol Division.
District 2 encompasses what part of the city of Tampa?
The
Generally.
northern part of Tampa.
Okay. Let me direct your attention to a Exhibit A in evidence as January 2011 calendar. Can you see it from that distance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the 28th would be a Friday of that year, is that correct? Can you see that from that?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. It's lost some definition when it got bigger. What were your general duties on patrol?
Again, I was assigned to the Uniform Patrol Division in District 2, so I was in a marked agency vehicle, and I responded to calls for service throughout the day. I was assigned to the day shift. I went on duty at 0700, 7 o'clock.
And were you in a single-man unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That district that you patrolled, did that include a residential neighborhood called Tampa Palms?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the morning of Friday, January 28th of 2011, did you receive a request or directive from Tampa Police Department Communications directing you to conduct a welfare check on the occupants of a residence in Tampa Palms?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that address 16305 Royal Park Court?
That'd be correct.
Okay. Was that residence in Hillsborough County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that residence, was it in a gated community within Tampa Palms?
It is.
As a patrol officer in that area, did you have access to the code to gain entry into that gated community?
I did, sir. Yes.
What time did you arrive at that residence?
I believe we were dispatched at 7:39 in the morning, and it might have taken us about 3 minutes to get there.
Okay. You say we. Did someone else arrive at that residence at or near the time you did?
Yes, sir. Officer Bill Copulus was originally assigned as the first officer, and I was his backup unit.
Was Officer Copulus another member of your squad?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you a series of photographs and ask you to take a moment to look at them individually, and then I'll ask you whether these fairly and accurately depict locations at or within that residence at 16305 Royal Park Court as it appeared on January 28th of 2011, okay?
Yes, sir.
For the written record, I will show you States Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 21, 25, 26, 27, 34, 35, 36, 52, 53, 56, 57, 58, 60, 65, 66, 71, 72, and 73. As I present them, they will be from top to bottom as I read them. Okay, you just take a moment to take a look at those. Have you seen those photographs before today?
Yes, sir, I have.
During essentially our trial preparation, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, take a moment if you would to take a look at them. Do each of those exhibits that I've read into the record fairly and accurately depict locations or portions of that residence as they appeared during your time at the residence on the morning of Friday, January 28th of 2011?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, move each of the previously named exhibits into evidence. I can announce them again if you'd like me to.
For the clerk, please do that.
Yes, sir. States Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 21, 25, 26, 27, 34, 35, 36, 52, 53, 55, 57, 58, 60, 65, 66, 71, 72, and 73.
No objection.
Those exhibits are received without objection.
Thank you. Detective, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this stack of photos with you, and we will be publishing them also on the television screen there. So you can direct your attention to whichever you feel comfortable, but they will be published as we refer to them, okay?
Yes, sir.
They are in the correct order.
Okay.
States 1, please. States Exhibit number 1 is at the front of the residence that you responded to on that date and time?
Yes, sir.
And does that residence face west?
It does, sir.
Okay. And this is the residence of a family you came to learn was the Schenecker family, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And for the written record, is there a three-car garage on the front right portion of that home as it appears in this photograph?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as you approach, is there the main residential entrance, the front door, so to speak, on the left portion of the home?
It is.
Okay. Did you and Officer Coppolis park your patrol cars and actually approach the residence?
Yes, sir. We did. It's actually a street with a cul-de-sac, and I believe we came down the street and turned in the cul-de-sac and parked a couple of houses, or at least one house, south of this residence.
Okay. South would be, as we're looking at that photograph, to the right of the residence?
Correct.
Okay. And what part of the house did you first approach?
We walked up the driveway of the residence towards the front door.
Were there any vehicles in the driveway?
No, sir.
Okay. Can you tell us, before we get to your further actions, what was the nature of the call, the information that you received specifically?
And the call was a priority 4 call, and it came out as an attempt to contact in reference to a welfare check of a female, approximately 50 years of age, that had made or sent possible suicidal emails to the complainant in Texas. I believe the complainant was the mother of the 50-year-old at that residence.
Did they name the 50-year-old?
Did name her as Julie Schenecker.
Okay, please continue.
And the call stated that we were to check on Mrs. Schenecker along with her 2 children. I believe it was ages 16 and 13, but it didn't provide names to the children, I don't believe.
Did it indicate whether there had been attempts by the complainant to contact the individuals in the residence?
Yes, sir. The call also indicated that the complainant was trying to contact the children by phone, and thought it was strange that they weren't answering and that they should be home.
Okay. Armed with that knowledge and having seen no vehicle in the driveway, did you or Officer Coppolis try to determine whether there were any vehicles in the garage?
Absolutely.
And how'd that occur?
As we were walking up the driveway and before we approached the front door, we walked in front of the garage doors. Officer Coppolis looked into the window of the garage and saw a vehicle and let me know that there's a vehicle inside the garage.
Do you recall whether there were any lights on in the garage?
I didn't see any lights on in the garage, and he didn't, I don't think he indicated whether there was or not, but I didn't see any on.
From those garage doors, where did you and Officer Coppolis proceed to?
We walked directly to the main front doors of the residence.
If you would look at Exhibits 2 and 3 in front of you. If you would publish 2, please. Showing the
Okay, yes, sir.
photograph, Exhibit 2 on the screen. Is that a photograph of the front door of the Schenecker residence, essentially almost from the street?
Yes, sir, from the sidewalk, yes, sir.
Okay. State's Exhibit 3, please. And what's the composition of the majority of that door?
Mainly, I would say glass.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 3, is that a closer view of the master or the front door?
Yes, sir.
Actually, there are, I say front door, but there are 2 doors, each of them majority composition of glass?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How close did you go up to the front door?
Enough to knock on the door, ring the doorbell,
Okay.
check to see if it was locked, right up to the front door.
Okay. When you were at the front door, could you determine whether there were any lights on inside the house?
On the bottom floor and in the immediate vicinity of the front doors, yes. And I did not see any lights on.
Inside the house?
Not from the front door, no.
Well, and was the glass of a composition that you could see through the glass of the front doors?
Yes, sir. If you leaned up against the door and looked through it, closely, you could see into the residence and all the way to the back door.
And in January of 2011, at about 7:40 or thereabouts in the morning, was it full daylight out yet, do you recall?
The sun had just come up and it was daylight.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you indicated that you knocked on the door.
Yes, sir.
Did you do that? How did you do that? Like one or two times or a lot of times? Tell us what effort you made.
Maybe a couple of times. I don't recall exactly today how many times I actually knocked, but it was a couple of times to get the attention of someone inside. And
You indicated you rang the doorbell?
yes, sir.
Could you hear the doorbell activate when the button was pressed?
As I sit here today, I can't tell you that I actually remember hearing that ring, but I do remember trying to ring it and get someone's attention inside the house.
And was the actual front door locked or unlocked?
It was locked, sir.
Did anybody respond to your knocks and rings and come to the front door?
No, sir.
Did you notice anything attached to the glass portion of the front door?
I did.
And what were those?
2 Post-it notes.
Okay, showing you State's Exhibit number 4. Is this a close-up view of the Post-it notes that you referred to just a moment ago?
Yes, sir.
Do you have that photograph in front of you?
I do.
Would you read for the written record the Post-it note as you view it on the left?
Yes, sir. Friends, we went to NYC. Julie, be back Tuesday, or choose.
And would you read for the written record what the Post-it note on the right side of this photograph reads?
Yes, sir. Carpool, we all went to NYC. Julie, be back, choose.
Okay. In looking through the door, did you or Officer Koppelis notice anything inside the house or at the back of the house that drew your attention?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
That the back sliding glass
When you look through this screen door, did you observe anyone within the on or within the screened patio lanai?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell us what you observed.
I observed a female lying on the deck of the lanai, and she appeared to be dressed in her pajamas and a robe, and she appeared to be possibly sleeping.
Okay. Was she in a chair or on the ground?
Lying on the deck of the lanai, not on a chair.
And did you ultimately come to learn the identity of that lady?
Yes, sir.
And who was that?
Mrs. Julie Schenecker.
Do you see Miss Schenecker in the courtroom today?
I do.
And please identify where you see her and what she is wearing.
She's the white female seated to my left with the glasses. She has on a black jacket and a red shirt, and her hand on her neck.
Okay. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. Let me, if you would look at State 11 and 12. States 11, please. Is that a view of the rear of the house between the pool and the lanai?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. And does this photograph contain the location where you saw Miss Schenecker?
It does.
Your Honor, may the witness step down to assist the jury in describing exactly where?
You may step down, sir.
Sir, if you would approach the screen, describe verbally where you saw her, and then also assist the jury by pointing to the photograph so you could tell them.
Yes.
Place where I originally saw her was in this area right here, between the window and the flower pot, laying down in this area right here.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Please take the stand. When you saw the defendant laying on the lanai in the fashion you've described, what did you do?
Yelled out to her,
What did you yell out?
asking if she was okay. I believe I might have called her by her first name, Julie, and asked her if she was okay. Hello. Repeatedly said hello, raising my voice to get her attention.
Was there immediate response by Ms. Schenecker?
Pretty much. Her head raised, and she looked over at me, her eyes opened, and she began to push herself up from the lanai, and it appeared to me that I had awoken her.
What'd you do?
I entered the screen lanai.
Did Officer Coppola enter with you?
He did.
And what, tell me.
Again, I didn't know if she was injured or if she had been sick or what was going on because of the nature of the call. I entered the lanai, approached Mrs. Schenecker, and made physical contact with her to see if she was okay. And as I was doing that, again, she was pushing herself up from the lanai, and I continued to talk to her, asking her if she was okay, is everything all right?
Did either you or Officer Coppola, as you recall, just getting to her feet?
I did, and I believe Officer Coppola did also. She appeared a little unsteady and slow to get to her feet.
And you indicated, what was she wearing again, sir?
I'm sorry?
What was she wearing?
She was wearing a set of pajamas, a top and a bottom, and a white robe.
Okay. As you first, as you assisted her to her feet, were you in with arm reach of her?
Yes, I had grabbed her arm in her hand and helped her to her feet.
Did you notice any odor about her person that you were familiar with?
Yes, sir, there was a sour odor coming from her breath, and it smelled to me like an alcoholic beverage.
Okay. Upon your first close contact with Ms. Schenecker, did you notice any stains on or about her robe or person?
Yes, sir. I immediately noticed some red, appeared to be dried up drops of blood on her robe and on her hands and her nails and things of that nature.
Okay. Upon that observation, what did you do or say?
Again, I asked her if she was okay. I asked her what was going on. Was she injured? Did she hurt herself or things of that nature? And she said, from what I recall, she was okay.
Did you observe any physical injuries to her, cuts, scratch, abrasions that could have accounted for the blood?
No, sir, I didn't. As I was asking her these questions, I raised her sleeve slightly to see if her wrists were cut or if there were any injuries to her arms, and I couldn't find the source of the blood or any injuries to her body, no.
Did you specifically ask her where did the blood come from?
I did.
What'd she say?
She did not answer that question.
Okay. Did she acknowledge or admit that it was blood?
And at first, I recall asking her, where did the blood come from, or where are you bleeding from? You have blood on you. Her response, her delayed response was, that's not blood.
Okay. Did she, at some point, either on the lanai or later throughout the morning, make an additional response about the source of that blood?
Yes, as I continued to look for the source of the blood, as far as an injury to her person, I asked her if she was scratched anywhere on her body where she could have bled from. Is she scratched anywhere? Her response to that was, I wish a scratch was the source of this blood.
Describe her speech as you first contacted her on the lanai and asked her these questions.
Again, when I first made contact with her, her speech was more like she was just waking up, slurred, like she was just opening her eyes and coming to. The more we spoke, the more articulate she became. I understood everything.
Was there a delay in some of her responses to your questions?
Oh, yes. There was a delay, and it appeared that either she was confused.
Objection,
That's-
speculation.
Sustained.
There was some delay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Given the nature of the call, your observations of the red stain on her and the absence of injuries, and the fact that you had information from the call that there were children inside the home, what did you do?
I asked Ms. Schenecker where her children were located, and I also let her know that I was confused because of the nature of the call and the notes posted on the front door. I tried to explain to her that the dispatcher informed us that the children should be home, but the notes indicated the children are in New York, along with her, but she's there and has her children.
What did she say?
She said, she pointed to the rear door of her residence and said they're inside.
And once she indicated that, what did you do or ask?
I asked her if we could go inside and check on the welfare of the children to make sure they were okay.
And what did she say?
She said, sure, yes.
While you were addressing her outside on the lanai, did the defendant make any statements about any mental health conditions she had?
Yes, sir.
What'd she say?
I asked her if she was on medication or, again, had any illnesses, and she said that she was on medication for being bipolar.
And did you and Officer Copulus enter the home of the Scheneckers?
Yes, sir.
And did the defendant go in with you and Officer Copulus?
Yes, sir.
Okay. States 14, please. And are these the sliding glass doors that enter from the lanai into the back or rear of the home?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is that the point of entry for you and Officer Copulus and the defendant that morning?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification. It states Exhibit number 1A, an enlargement of a diagram. Although perhaps not exactly to scale, do you recognize this diagram, sir?
Yes, sir.
Does it fairly and accurately depict the relative locations of the rooms of the Schenecker home as they appeared on January 28th of 2011?
On the first floor, yes, sir.
On the first floor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Your Honor, move states 1A into evidence.
No objection.
Proceed without objection.
On Exhibit 1A, can you just point for the jury where the lanai entry is shown on this diagram?
The lanai entry?
The slider is shown in
Yes,
states 14.
to the door, to the residence, yes. Right here.
Okay. And what was the first room you entered?
Entered the living room here.
And then what did Officer Copulus do?
He went to the left to the kitchen area and had Mrs. Schenecker have a seat at the table.
And where did you go?
I scanned the living room, dining room for any persons, and then came to the master bedroom.
Okay. Did you see any persons at any location within the first floor of the Schenecker home on January 28th of 2011?
Inside the living room, dining room area, or master bedroom, no.
What was your purpose for looking around that house, the bottom floor?
To check on the safety and welfare of the children that live there.
State 15, please. Is that a view from the sliders into the kitchen area of the home as shown in the diagram?
Yes, sir, it is.
Stage 16, please. And is that a view to the left as you would have entered those sliders?
Yes, sir, that had been to the left after you enter.
Stage 21, please. And does that show a view from the kitchen island towards the sliders and also showing the kitchen table there?
That's correct.
Is that kitchen table where Officer Coppolis had the defendant sit while you cleared the house?
Yes, sir.
How did you announce your presence while you were inside the house clearing it?
I gave repeated statements announcing my presence. Tampa Police, come out.
Did you have your weapon drawn?
I believe after I found a firearm inside the residence on the dresser, yes, my firearm was drawn.
Okay, but upon initial entry you did not?
No, not that I recall.
You've indicated that after you cleared the living room and family room area on the first floor that you ultimately went through the kitchen into the master bedroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that master bedroom, as you recall, is, and you don't have it in front of you, but on the lower left-hand corner of this diagram, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stage 25, please. And is this a view from the doorway of the master bedroom into the master bedroom?
Yes, sir, it is.
And is that another separate set of sliders with the, not curtains, but blinds shown in the left corner of that picture?
Yes, sir. Leading out to the lanai, yes, sir.
Okay. Stage 26, please. Is that a different angle of that, actually the northeast corner of that bedroom?
Yes, sir, from inside the bedroom, correct.
Okay. Showing a couple dressers and a TV?
Yes, sir.
Stage 27, please. Is that a sitting room off of the master bedroom and showing the master bed?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did you find, you did not find anybody in the master bedroom, is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Stage 34, please. And is there a large master dresser in the master bedroom as shown near the foot of the bed?
Yes, sir, there is.
The doorway between the master bed and the dresser, does that lead to the master bathroom?
It does.
Okay. Did you see anything that drew your attention to the top of that dresser that's shown with a blue box on it at the lower right-hand corner of stage 34?
Yes, sir.
What was it that you saw?
A loaded Smith & Wesson 5-shot handgun lying in plain view on the top of that dresser.
Okay. Now, these photographs that we've been seeing were taken by crime scene technician sometime later that day, but after your initial entry, is that correct?
That's correct.
There was nobody contemporaneously photographing the scene as you were clearing the house?
No.
Right? Okay. So there's no photograph of the Smith & Wesson on that dresser? This doesn't have it on the dresser, right?
That is correct.
Because what'd you do with it?
I secured it on my person. I unloaded it and took the bullets out and placed the bullets in that Smith & Wesson box on the dresser. I put the bullets in there and secured the handgun in my back pocket.
Later that morning, did you take the handgun out of your pocket and make note of the serial number of that weapon as inscribed in the metal of the weapon?
I did.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification. Stacy's at number 20. Now,
looks like it was your package.
Having removed the contents of State's Exhibit number 20, do you recognize State's Exhibit number 20?
Yes, sir.
And have you viewed that in my office in trial preparation for your testimony today?
Yes, sir, I did.
And in that review of that exhibit, did you check the serial number to make sure it's 8th of 2011?
Yes, sir.
The That's a revolver, sir, is that correct?
Yes, sir, 5-shot revolver.
Has a cylinder that contains the ammunition?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. States 35, please. Do you recognize this as a close-up view of that dresser, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is the blue box that's in the middle of the dresser?
It's the box labeled Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, the model of the handgun that was lying out in plain view on the dresser.
And did this box correspond to that gun?
It does.
Okay. What is the black item that is immediately to the right of the blue box as it appears from our perspective looking at the dresser? Can you tell?
The black case to the right of the blue box?
Yes. Do you recall, or did you pay much attention to that?
I do not recall, sir.
That's fine, sir. You say you unloaded the bullets and then you actually ultimately put them in this box?
The blue box, yes, sir.
Okay. Was it fully loaded?
Yes, sir, with 5 shots.
And were the bullets just the casings that had been spent after the weapon had been fired, or were these bullets that were unfired?
These were bullets that were unfired.
Okay. States 36, please. And is this a view of the opened Smith & Wesson box containing the 5 bullets that you put in the box after unloading it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. After you found that gun, did you announce your find in any fashion to Officer Copperless?
I don't recall I did.
Okay. But was it at this point that you believed that you armed yourself, having found the firearm and having viewed blood on, or what appeared to be blood on Ms. Schenecker's robe?
That, sir, along with the fact that I heard some movement upstairs that later turned out to be a cat.
Okay. Was the Schenecker home a 2-story home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was there a stairwell or a set of stairs essentially in the middle of the first floor that led up to the second floor?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you a large diagram marked for identification. This State's Exhibit number 1, B as in boy. Although perhaps not drawn exactly to scale, does State's Exhibit number 1B accurately show the relative locations of the rooms and furniture on the second floor of the Schenecker home as it appeared on January 28th of 2011?
Yes, sir, it does.
Your Honor, move States 1B into evidence.
No objection.
Proceed without objection.
Okay, the witness step down, please.
You may step down.
If you'll step to the right of the diagram as you,
You can relocate as necessary, counsel, please.
Thank you, Judge.
and please be mindful not to block the jury's view. What did you do after where'd you go after you found the gun? You're looking at the second floor now, but where did you go? Do you recall?
After I found the gun, I continued to look through the master bath on the first floor.
Okay, you know, I got ahead of myself. Let me use stage 1A. I'm sorry, repeat that for us, please, and show just by using your finger where you went and describing it verbally for the court.
Yes, sir. After finding the handgun lying on the dresser and securing it, I continued to search the bottom floor, the master bedroom, and went into the master bath. Looked in this area for any persons, and there were none.
And then what'd you do?
Let me say that again, as I'm looking.
Objection, not responsible.
What did you do next?
Next question, Counsel.
What did you do next?
I noticed that there were 5 Smith cartridges on the counter here of the master bathroom.
Okay.
I continued through the master bath, out of the master bedroom, and came to the stairwell and went upstairs.
All right.
I'm sorry, let me backtrack there. I also checked the closet of the master bedroom here for persons, and there were none.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification. State's exhibit number 42. Is that a fair and accurate photograph of the spent casings that you referred to as having observed on the counter in the master bedroom?
Yes, sir.
Judge will move states 42 in evidence.
Objection.
Proceed without objection.
42, please. What is lying next to or adjacent to the spent casings as shown in that photograph? Can you tell?
Prescription bottles and a hair dryer.
To immediately almost touching the casings, can you see what that?
I'm sorry, a box of ammunition.
Okay, thank you. All right, you see that, you go out and you don't find anybody else on the first floor. Where did you go to after the master bedroom?
Exited the master bedroom, came to the stairwell, and went up the stairs.
All right, states 52 and 50. 52 for right now, please. Do you recognize this photograph as a photograph of the stairs leading up to the second floor from the bottom of the stairs?
Yes, sir, I do.
And were there some type of Christmas decorations or hats as shown on the right side of that stairwell?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this item on the bottom of the stairs on the bottom right, is that an evidence marker used by crime scene technicians that says number 17?
Yes, sir.
And of course, was that there when you were clearing the house?
No, sir.
Put there later on by crime scene technicians?
Correct.
Okay, 53, please. And is this a view up to the top of the stairwell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Using the diagram in front of you states 1, now in front of you, as states 1B, would you describe how you cleared where you went to on the second floor?
Came up the stairs, looked to my left, that was a large, appeared to be loft area. And walked over here, making sure nobody was behind the couch or anywhere in this area, and there were no persons in plain view there.
Okay, let me show you states 56, please. And does this show you a view of that, what you described as a loft area as you're at the top of the stairs looking to your left?
Yes, sir.
Is that the couch you indicated that you behind to make sure nobody was there?
Yes, sir. To the side of it, yes, sir.
What, if anything, did you observe in the loft area that drew your attention?
A right up pool of blood at the desk in that area, and underneath the chair, the pool of blood, there was a trail of appeared to be blood leading into the number 1 bedroom upstairs.
States Exhibit 57, please. Does that photograph fairly accurately depict the location where you saw what you believe to be an area of dried up pool of blood on the floor behind the computer desk chair?
Yes, sir, it does.
And on this diagram, Exhibit 1B, although relatively roughly marked, does this line that's drawn across the diagram, almost vertical, represent the relative location of what you described as a apparent blood trail leading away from that computer desk into a room on the second floor?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. Now, can you see in 57 the trail at the beginning of the, well, excuse me, let me ask this first. Was there a plastic mat underneath the computer chair as shown in that exhibit?
Yes, sir, there is.
And from the, I guess I should ask this for the written record, the floor was carpeted on the second floor, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And was there a trail of blood that appeared to have been made by the roller of the computer chair away from the computer desk?
Yes, sir, it appeared to be made by the wheels of the chair, yes.
States Exhibit 58. Is that a close-up of the location of the blood near the chair?
Yes, sir.
And is there, did you actually observe any blood on the arm and the left side of the chair? What appeared to be blood?
Yes, sir.
States Exhibit number 60, please. And is that Exhibit 60 show you what you described as an apparent pattern or path of blood leading away from that chair into the room?
It does.
Having seen that, did you follow the path in your attempt to clear the residence?
Yes, sir.
Is that path that lead, as shown on Stage 1B, to a bedroom that was on the southwestern side of that second floor?
Yes, sir, the southwest side.
Okay. Was that a bedroom?
Yes, sir.
And was that door to that bedroom open or closed when you first saw it?
It was closed.
Did you open it?
I did.
Showing you Stage 65, please. And is that a view from the doorway as you first observed into the bedroom on the second floor that you just described?
Yes, sir.
And when you first looked in the bedroom, on the bed, what did you see?
I saw a figure lying in the bed, or what appeared to be a figure that was covered up with a blanket, mostly covered except for the uppermost portion of the head.
Did you approach the bed?
I did.
What'd you do?
Well, I kept calling out to the person to show their hands, trying to get a response from them, but I did not. And as I got closer, I saw that there was blood, dried blood, at the head of the bed on this individual's side of her face, and on the pillow of the bed, and I pulled the covers back in an attempt to feel for a pulse and get a response, and at that point, I saw that there was no signs of life.
Okay, let me show you what's been marked and introduced in the evidence. It states 66. Is that a photograph of the person found in bed after you pulled the top portion of the cover down?
Yes, sir.
Will you 66, please? And did you ultimately learn the identity of the person in that bed to be Felix Schenecker?
That's correct.
Did you see any signs of trauma to the head of the body of Felix Schenecker when you pulled the cover down to check her?
Yes, sir.
What did you observe in that regard?
There appeared to be severe trauma to the top of her head and her face.
And you checked for a pulse?
Tried to check for a pulse, and her body was very stiff. Rigor mortis had already set in. She was not breathing.
Please take the stand, sir. What did you do once you found Felix Schenecker in that condition?
I yelled out to my partner, Officer Copulus, and let him know that we had a Signal 5, Signal 7, a death, possible homicide.
Okay. Signal 5 is?
A homicide,
Signal 7?
a death.
Okay. And did you use those terms, Signal 5 and Signal 7?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I
And
use
why?
those terms. Not to alarm Mrs. Schenecker or get her excited, or just for that reason. I usually speak in codes with other officers.
We can take and go back to the regular screen. What did you do after you made that announcement to your partner, Officer Coppolis?
I asked my partner to escort Mrs. Schenecker over to the bottom of the stairs, just so we could, I guess, try to both keep an eye on her as I continued to search the second floor of the residence. I had not expected to find what I found.
Did you go back downstairs?
No,
Okay.
not at that point.
Okay. Please continue.
I, again, was still hearing noises and movement in the upstairs bedrooms, and again, that later turned out to be a cat. But I continued to look through the other bedrooms on the second floor in search for the other child that was supposedly in the residence, and I could not find anybody else upstairs.
Okay. Did you actually enter into the other two bedrooms shown on the diagram?
Yes, sir.
And nobody was there, is that correct?
No, sir.
What did you do upon making that determination?
I went down to the first floor, and simultaneously, my supervisor arrived on the scene. And
Who was that, sir?
Lieutenant Pryor, John Pryor.
At that time, he was a sergeant?
Correct.
And how did he enter the home, do you know?
He came in through the front door after it was unlocked, and we allowed him in.
Tell me what happened after Sergeant Pryor got there.
Sergeant Pryor was informed of the situation inside the residence, and I believe he handcuffed Mrs. Schenecker. As he was handcuffing Mrs. Schenecker, I asked Officer Coppolis to come back upstairs with me just to make sure I didn't miss anything, any other persons. And Officer Coppolis went back upstairs with me, and we double-checked the bedrooms to make sure we didn't miss any other persons upstairs.
Okay. After doing that, what did you do?
We came back downstairs. Officer Coppolis took custody of Mrs. Schenecker, as Lieutenant Pryor and myself continued to search any unchecked rooms on the first floor, and the only unchecked room that we could think of was the garage.
Okay. Did you know what Officer Coppolis did with the defendant once you and Sergeant Pryor started to look around for the garage?
He just stood by with her in the, I think, the living room area.
All right. Did you and Sergeant Pryor enter the garage?
We did?
And let me show you States 1A, the diagram of the first floor. Was there an interior doorway from the inside the house to the garage?
Yes, sir.
And is it shown on, the location shown on States 1A?
Yes, sir, it is.
And are you showing the jury now that with your finger?
I am, sir.
Okay, thank you. State 71, please. Is that a view from the interior doorway leading into the garage?
Yes, sir, it is.
And does that show a Volkswagen sedan of some sort right outside that doorway?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State 72, please. Is this a view after you've stepped into the garage and you can see part of that Volkswagen dark sedan?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And what type of vehicle is shown on the upper left-hand corner of that vehicle? Of this photograph, State 72?
A white van?
Okay. Upon seeing that, what did you and Sergeant Pryor do? Did you approach the van?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do once you approached the van?
We looked inside.
What did you see once you looked inside?
A figure completely covered with a blanket. I opened the door,
Which door?
driver's front door.
That's shown in this photograph, 72?
Correct.
Okay, please continue. What'd you do?
And I noticed that underneath the figure covered with the blanket, it was a pair of feet, and it appeared to be somebody was sitting in that front passenger seat. Pulled the blanket back and found the other child that resides in the residence there.
Come to learn that the person that you found inside that van in the passenger front seat was Bo Schenecker?
Yes, sir.
Did you check for vital signs to see whether there were any signs of life?
Yes, sir. I attempted to, and there were no signs of life.
73, please. Of course, another view of the white van, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you remove any eyeglasses from the body of Bo Schenecker or disturb the body in any other fashion other than pulling the cover down partly?
No, sir.
After you and we can go back to the regular. Thank you. After you found the body, you and Sergeant Pryor found the body of Bo Schenecker, what did you do?
We exited the garage. I was assigned to go back into the living room and stand by with Mrs. Schenecker and Officer Coppolis while Sergeant Pryor made all the necessary notifications.
What do you mean necessary notifications? Just give us an idea of what goes on from that point. From an investigative standpoint.
And supervisors had to be notified, along with the ranking officers of the Tampa Police Department, through notification for crime scene technicians to respond and process the scene for evidence and things of that nature.
And had you observed trauma to the head of the body of Bo Schenecker once you pulled the cover down?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And blood flow, or apparent blood stains from and about the head?
Oh, yes.
So after you'd cleared the garage, did you stand by with the defendant in the living room with Officer Coppolis for...
Yes, sir.
Did you for formal questioning?
I did not, no.
Did Ms. Schenecker make any spontaneous statements in your presence which were not in response to any questions?
She did, sir.
And did you make it a point to write those statements down?
I did.
And can you tell us what Ms. Schenecker stated spontaneously as you were with her in the living room?
May I refer to my report to be
Yes.
exact?
Did you prepare a written police report at or near the time of the incident that you've described?
I did.
And did your report contain details of your observations and in fact the statements that Ms. Schenecker made?
Yes, sir.
Would reviewing your report refresh your memory as to the specific verbiage used by Ms. Schenecker at the time she made the spontaneous statements?
Absolutely.
Please refer to your report to refresh your recollection.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Did Ms. Schenecker ask if she could have anything to drink?
She asked for something to drink. Yes, she did.
Was anything provided to her?
Yes, Officer Coppolis provided with a glass of orange juice.
What, if anything, further did she say?
She had asked, I believe, for a cigarette. She had asked where her gun was and said something to the effect that she wanted to use it on. She wanted to know who called us, the police. She wanted to know how many cops were outside because it was looking like an incident.
That's what she said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you say anything about her kids? Asking about her kids.
She asked if we would call her husband, and eventually she asked if we found her children.
Okay.
She asked if it was Thursday or Friday and explained that she was a member of the carpool and she had to bring kids to school, things of that nature. At one point, at only one point, she raised her voice and said, "Calix is in her bed," and yelled, "Do you understand?" As she stared at me.
Did she indicate where Bo was?
I don't recall her saying that as I sit here today, and I'm looking at my notes here. I'm sorry, my report. Yes, I'm sorry, it is here, where she did state Bo is in the car.
Okay. Was Ms. Schenecker ultimately transported to Tampa Police Department for questioning?
Yes, sir.
As of January 28th of 2011, approximately how long had you been patrolling that part of town?
That was my first week in that particular area, but after that I had worked the New Tampa area for 3 years.
Okay. And as of January of 2011, can you give us an idea as to whether there were any businesses of any sort within a 3 to 5 mile radius of the Schenecker home from which a person could purchase a firearm?
3 to 5 mile radius in the New Tampa area, no, but within a 15-mile radius close to that subdivision, there were a few, at least 3.
Okay. Do you have any other involvement in the investigation of this incident?
No, sir.
Tender the witness.
Cross-examining counsel.
Morning, Officer Noble.
Hello?
You're here this morning in a suit. Is that what you normally wear when you're working?
In the assignment I'm assigned at now, yes, this is what I wear. Well, I wear plain clothes, but on that day I was in a uniform.
Okay, and what color is the uniform that you normally wore?
Dark blue?
When you arrived at the Schenecker residence on January 28th, 2011, you said that you were in a one-man unit at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, meaning you were driving by yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a marked unit?
Yes, ma'am.
When you arrived at the home, did you arrive at the same time as Officer Copulus?
Simultaneously, I drove up behind him. We had left roll call together, and we actually were assigned this call during roll call, so we left roll call together and went over to the scene.
And when you went to the scene and you end up approaching the home, that was done at the same time?
Yes, ma'am.
Your testimony is that this area has a cul-de-sac and you all drove down and turned around and parked your car maybe in a house next to the Schenecker residence?
I remember doing that, yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you arrived at the residence, the first thing you did was go and knock on the door?
Well, when we arrived at the residence, I guess the first thing we did was look in the window of the garage.
Okay. And that was something that Officer Copulus did?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am, as I stood right there next to him.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 1. Okay. This is what the house looked like back on January 28, 2011, when you approached?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Aside from, at this point, other units have arrived at the time the house is being photographed and crime scene have been, tape have been put up?
Correct.
Okay. So when you walk up to the residence, the area that you're looking at for the garage are the little windows that are at the top of the garage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that something that you were able to observe, or Officer Copulus?
Officer Coppolis, because of his height, he was able to easily see into the window, yes.
Okay, so he was tall enough to be able to look in.
Correct.
And after he looked in, you all approached the front of the residence?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at this time when you arrive, what was your shift that day?
I believe it was from 0700, 7 o'clock in the morning until, I believe, 6:30 or 18:30 hours that night.
And how long did roll call take?
We were still in roll call when we were assigned the call, so.
Okay, so you left before roll call was over?
Correct.
And when you left and arrived at the residence, what time was it when you got there?
I don't have the exact time. As I sit here today, it would be in the call data, but I'm estimating it took maybe 2 to 3 minutes, 4 at the most. We were I think at Highwoods Preserve and Bruce B. Downs when we were assigned the call, so we weren't very far.
Okay. So you all were having roll call at a remote location in a parking lot?
Correct.
Okay. And when you arrived at the Schenecker residence, your testimony was that at that time the sun just began to rise?
The sun had come up, and yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. When you approach a home like that with the 2 glass doors, were you able to see whether the inside, the lights were on inside that residence, or was it too bright outside for you to determine that at that time?
I guess if the light would have been on inside the closest room, the room closest to the front door, I would have been able to see a light on, but I don't recall seeing any lights on, and I was right up against the door and didn't see any lights on inside.
Okay. Would that have been something you'd be able to see, like from the street or walking up to the residence, or would you have to look inside?
If the light was on in the room closest to the front door, or back in the kitchen area,
Either.
I
Like if
guess
the lights
depends
on were in the house.
the wattage of the light, I guess, I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
But you didn't notice that there were any lights on in the home?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you arrived, did you immediately notice the notes that were on the door?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And as you look at the doors, show exhibit. The close-up of the doors, the notes are on the left door?
Yes, ma'am. I think that's the north side door, yes.
Okay, so if you're facing the doors, they're on the left-hand side.
Yes, ma'am.
When you arrived and you all started knocking on the door, you ended up looking through the windows and then seeing that the back door was ajar?
Yes, ma'am. Well, Officer Copulus looked first and told me that he saw the back door ajar, and then I also looked and confirmed that.
Okay. And when you all approached, you approached from the left-hand side of the house as you're facing the home?
Correct, the north side, right.
Okay. When you went in the back and you saw this individual on the back of the patio on the lanai, at first the person appeared to what you said be sleeping?
Well, she was laying there motionless, so I mean, I didn't know if she was injured or if she, something had happened to her, or she was sleeping. But again, as soon as I saw her, I immediately started trying to get a response from her, calling out to her, and I got a quick response from her. So, I first see a figure laying on the lanai in her pajamas and a robe, which concerned me. But as I called out to her, I saw her body start to move, and figured, okay, we're all right, she's okay.
Okay. When you are responding to welfare checks, that's what you were doing in this case, right?
Attempt to contact welfare check, yes, ma'am.
And you all had received some information that the mother of Julie Schenecker received a possible suicidal email.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had information about the children and the husband being out of the country.
About the children that were supposed to be home and the father being out of the country, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you arrive to locations, when you go on scene, is that something where you have to react quickly to situations as they evolve?
With the information that we had received en route to the call,
Just in general, when you respond to any crime scene or any potential call, is that something where you have to respond quickly to events as they unfold?
I'm sorry, are you saying that the nature of the call is that the type of call we respond quickly to?
No. What I'm asking you is, when you respond to calls, any call, do you all, as law enforcement officers, you're the first responder, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in this case, you're the first responder,
Yes, ma'am.
along with Officer Copulus. There was no one there before you arrived.
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you respond to any crime scene as a first responder, do you have to react to situations as they unfold?
Surely.
Okay. If you see potential suspects, you may have to pursue somebody, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. If somebody is injured, you have to render aid at times when you respond to things?
Of course.
Okay. If there's active fighting or whatever's going on when you may respond to something, you have to intervene.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And as a first responder, there are times when you have had to call for backup.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. or call for fire rescue or for treatment?
Surely,
Okay, so that's not an unusual thing as part of what you do.
not at all.
Okay. When you come and you're responding to a welfare check, your testimony is that you saw this individual lying on the back lanai in between the flower pot and the window?
In that general area, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm pointing to State's Exhibit number 11. In the back, the sliding glass door is open at that point.
Not open like it is in the photograph, but it's partially ajar, just like we
Okay.
saw it from the front door.
So at the time when you all were there, it's open, but not as wide as it is in this photograph. Is that fair to say?
Nowhere near as wide, again, only by a couple of inches.
Okay, but enough to draw your attention to go to the back of the residence.
Yes, ma'am.
When you all respond, is it your testimony that you stay outside of the screened-in patio as you're calling out to Ms. Schenecker?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Is your testimony that you are calling out to Ms. Schenecker from outside of the screened patio
Yes,
initially?
yes,
Okay, so outside of the outside of the screen patio, you're calling out to this person that you see lying on the lanai.
yes, ma'am.
And your testimony is that you got a fairly quick response.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Ms. Schenecker, you said her head came up or she was able to start responding?
Yes, her head came up. There was maybe a groan or like someone's pushing themselves or stretching to wake up. And her body began to move and focus on me, the person that was calling her, yes.
At that point, do you call for any type of assistance?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you don't call for backup.
No, ma'am.
You don't call for an ambulance, EMT, anything like that?
I don't call for EMT or ambulance because I don't know if there's any injuries or a need for them.
Okay, so you don't call at that time.
That's correct.
When you see this individual who's now responding to you, and you said you smell an odor of alcohol?
Not from outside the screened-in lanai. I entered the lanai and approached her and helped her to her feet.
Okay,
And
so-
at that point, I smelled the alcoholic beverage on her breath.
All right. Is that quickly after you're calling out to the individual that you enter the lanai?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So these things are happening kind of simultaneously.
Yes, ma'am.
You call out to the individual from outside of the patio, then you enter the patio to help her stand to her feet.
Yes, and I'm trying to speak to her the whole time I'm coming through the lanai door and approaching her, asking her if she's okay, what's going on, are you all right, what happened, you're out here, it's cold, what are you doing out here?
Right.
And things of that nature.
Back in January of 2011, on that day that you responded to the Schenecker residence, you said it was cool outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she was out with a robe and pajamas on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the pajamas that she had on were a button-up, long-sleeve shirt and pants?
I don't recall if they were a button-up shirt, but yes, it was some type of pajama shirt and matching pajama pants with a robe.
And when you saw the robe, you said you observed that there looked like some dried blood on the robe or some type of blood on the robe.
Yes, ma'am.
Caught your attention?
Immediately.
Okay. Did you have her ever take off her robe?
Not that I recall.
Okay. And at the time when you see what appears to be blood on a robe, at that point, do you call for any kind of assistance?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you smell an odor of alcoholic beverage?
I do.
All right. And you're there for a welfare check and a possible suicidal email?
Attempt to contact welfare check, yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you arrive on the back patio, and I'm showing you, again, State's Exhibit 11, there appear to be two sliding glass doors on the patio. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. 2 sets, yes, ma'am.
Okay, 2 sets. And the second set of sliding glass doors that are near some kind of white lounge, were those open at the time when you responded?
The actual doors to the master bedroom, were they open?
Yes.
I don't recall seeing them open, no. But that would be reflected in the crime scene photographs, because I would not have closed them if they were open.
Okay. So if they were open at the time, you wouldn't have closed them?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember them being open or just not observing them?
I don't remember them being open. I remember seeing a set of doors, but again, I don't remember them being open.
Now, when you're going through the crime scene, are you altering the crime scene at all?
First of all, when you say when I'm going through the crime scene, you mean the lanai or going into the house? Or?
Both. The entire residence.
I don't remember touching anything on the lanai other than Mrs. Schenecker by helping her up to her feet and raising her sleeves and maybe her pants leg to check her legs to see if she's bleeding anywhere. And as far as altering the crime scene, other than securing the handgun that was lying out in plain view, unsecured, I altered it by securing that weapon and unloading it, and also by removing the blankets from the children. Other than that, no, I didn't alter the crime scene other than that.
Okay. And is that something that you all are careful not to do when you're at a residence or any location?
We would never want to alter a crime scene, correct?
Okay. Yes, please. Now, the sliding glass doors that we just looked at in the previous picture on States 11, do those correspond with this master bedroom in States Exhibit 26?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that would have been what those lead out to the lanai or the patio and then lead into the master bedroom.
Yes, ma'am.
When you initially made contact with Ms. Schenecker, you said that you smelled an odor of alcoholic beverage at the time when you helped her up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is Officer Copulus also helping you at that time?
I believe he's on the other side, providing support for her as she's standing up, yes.
And you speak to Ms. Schenecker about entering the residence and going around the residence, is that right?
As far as going around the residence, I don't think we went into detail saying where we could go in the residence. I asked if we could go inside and check on her children, and she said that we could.
Okay, so she was cooperative with you?
Yes, she was.
And when you went inside the residence, you at first were responsible or took the lead as far as going around the residence, and Officer Copulus stayed with Ms. Schenecker at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you went inside of the residence and you walked into the master bathroom, the master bedroom, that was the first time that you saw the firearm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that point, you said that that firearm was loaded?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was it fully loaded? How many bullets were in the firearm?
I believe 5.
Okay. And this was a revolver firearm?
Yes, ma'am.
When you secured the firearm, what does that mean?
It means I made it safe and kept it out of the reach of other persons.
You took the bullets out?
I did.
Okay. And you placed those bullets in the box that was contained on the dresser?
I did.
And then you kept the firearm on you?
Correct.
Now, at that point, as investigations are fluid, did you have an opportunity to put on gloves and handle the firearm?
Did I have the opportunity?
Yes.
Yes, I had the firearm with me, yes.
Did you put on gloves prior to securing the firearm?
I did not.
Okay. So at that point, as part of your investigation and reaction to what you observed, you grab the firearm with your bare hand and you secure it.
I did.
Okay. And you place those bullets with your bare hand in the box.
I did, yes.
Okay. Now, ideally, you would have been able to put a glove on in order to touch something like that, a firearm that was at a scene.
If I would have known that was a crime scene at that time, I would have done that, but at the time I wasn't aware that it was a crime scene.
Okay. So any firearm that you see at times when you go out to calls, you touch those with your bare hand?
There are calls that we respond to as far as domestic disturbances and things like that, and weapons may be out in plain view. Those weapons will be unloaded and made safe while we're on the scene, especially if we're interviewing somebody in that particular room. Or if we stop a vehicle and we come across a firearm in the vehicle, yes, the same nature or things will be followed, yes.
Okay. So you don't wear gloves for those?
Do I wear gloves every time I make a weapon safe?
Yes.
No, I do not.
Okay. When you observe the firearm and you secured it, then at that point you continue to clear that area?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time when you go into the bathroom, you observe casings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and those are next to a box of ammunition?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there were 5 casings?
5 spent casings on the counter next to the box of ammunition, yes.
Okay. Now you end up securing the first floor of the residence only has the 1 bedroom, the master bedroom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then do you go upstairs before Sergeant Pryor arrives?
I do.
Okay. And at that point, when you go upstairs is when you see the loft area that has the chair in front of the computer area.
Correct.
And you follow that into the room where you find Kayla Schenecker's body.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that point, you said one thing that you did to alter the crime scene is that you moved blankets. Now, was that blanket completely over Kayla Schenecker, or how did it appear when you observed it?
The blanket was used to mostly cover her body, all of her body except the most part of her head.
Okay. And she was in the bed along with, her head is on a pillow and there's a towel also in the bed?
Her head is near the pillow or on the pillow, yes, and I don't recall if there's a towel there also.
Okay. And at that time, you say at some point you draw your weapon and you're securing the residence with your weapon drawn?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that for the entire second floor that you're doing that?
Pretty much, yes. And again, as I said before, I was hearing movement somewhere upstairs.
Okay.
Coming from one of the bedrooms.
Now, at any time after you've come onto the lanai, Ms. Schenecker is laying on the lanai, she smells of an alcoholic beverage, you find a firearm that's loaded, are you ever calling for backup at that point?
No, ma'am, I have backup there with me.
Okay. Officer Copulus?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who's with someone?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're not calling for any other assistance at that point?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When you go upstairs and you find Kayla Schenecker's body, are you calling for backup then?
No, but I would say that within a minute or two after finding her body upstairs, Sergeant Pryor arrives on the scene.
Okay. But that wasn't because you all called him?
No, we did not call him.
Okay. And at the time when you're going upstairs, you said you're hearing noise or movement upstairs.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it ends up being a cat that was upstairs, but at that time, you didn't know what that noise was.
Correct.
Okay. After Sergeant Pryor arrives is when you're able to then go and extend your search to the garage area where you locate the body of Bo Schenecker in the vehicle?
At that time, that was the only room that had not been searched in the house, yes, ma'am, and we completed the search then, yes.
Okay. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 73. Is this what the garage appeared to you at the time when you went in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And there are several items in the garage area that are shown in the photograph.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you move any of those items?
Not that I recall.
Okay. And when you first walk into the garage, there was a photograph showing a Volkswagen vehicle, and that would have been a car as you're going out into the garage is to the right of this vehicle, the white SUV.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you walk through, was it difficult to maneuver around to get to the vehicle from the items?
I wouldn't say it was difficult, but you had to walk between items.
Okay. How much room would you say is in between these items that are stacked up next to the vehicle and the vehicle doors on the driver's side of the white SUV?
Maybe 1.5 feet. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I didn't measure it.
And as you walk around the front of the vehicle to go to the passenger side, how much room was on the passenger side?
Ma'am, as I sit here today, I can't tell you how close that passenger side was to the wall or the other items on side of it. I can't even tell you. I remember.
From your impression, was it a tight fit, or was it something where you had room to move around if you opened the doors?
Again, ma'am, I can't tell you how close that passenger side door was parked next to the wall there.
Okay, so you don't remember that at all?
No.
Did you open the passenger door?
Not that I remember.
Okay, so you didn't go to the passenger side door and open it where Bo's body was located?
Passenger side door?
Yes.
Not that I remember.
Okay, he was in the passenger side door, right? The front passenger?
Front passenger seat, yes.
Yes. Did you open that door?
I don't recall opening that door.
Okay. Do you remember testifying that you moved the blanket down from Bo's body?
Yes, ma'am.
How'd you do that?
By reaching in through the driver's side door.
Okay, so you open the driver's side door and you reach across to pull down the blanket?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, after you located Bo Schenecker's body, you went and had contact with Miss Schenecker again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did you end up transporting her?
I did not. Officer Copulus did.
When you were there, you testified about some statements that she made at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it wasn't a situation where you were having her sit down and interviewing her about what you observed, were you?
No.
Okay. But as you're sitting there and you're waiting, are other officers responding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ever call to have someone check on Ms. Schenecker medically?
Oh, no.
When you when you were sitting there and she was making some spontaneous statements or some statements to you, she asked you, "Where is my gun? I want to use it on myself."
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you respond to her?
I don't recall responding to that, no.
And she asked you, "How many cops are outside? It looks like an incident."
Yes, ma'am.
And she asked you to call her husband.
Correct.
Did you respond to that?
No, I don't recall responding to that either. I just let her speak if she wanted to.
And she asked you what day it was, if it was Thursday or Friday. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And she told you that she has carpool and she has to pick up kids.
Correct.
Now, her responses, you testified, were delayed.
When I first encountered her on the lanai, they were delayed after she appeared to be more alert when she had woken up and moved inside the house.
Okay. And she told you about being bipolar and the medication that she was on?
Yes, ma'am.
In the time when you were walking around the master bedroom, was there medication that was visible to you?
There was.
Okay, medication on the nightstand and medication in the master bedroom?
Correct.
Okay. Did you have a chance to observe what was on the master bed?
I noticed there was a notepad on the bed,
Okay, so you saw a notepad?
blankets, like that.
Did you see an empty pill bottle?
I didn't examine any pill bottles, so no, I can't say that I saw an empty pill bottle, no.
Okay, so you were there for a welfare check and a possible suicide email, and you don't check the pill bottles?
I may have continued my investigation along that nature if it would have just turned out to be a suicidal threats call, but it turned into something much more serious. So I did, once we found the bodies and secured the residence, I did not continue searching through the home to see if pill bottles were empty and things of that nature. Mrs. Schenecker appeared alert to me and didn't appear in need of medical attention at that time.
Okay. So although you respond on a welfare check, the minute you found the bodies, your investigation changed?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And at that point, her welfare was no longer your concern?
Not true. Again, if I seen Mrs. Schenecker that needed medical attention, in my opinion, I would have immediately called. But I did not see any signs that she was in distress or in need of medical assistance at all.
Are you a medical professional?
No.
Okay. Nothing further.
Redirect.
Sir, did Ms. Schenecker complain of any injuries?
No, sir.
Did she advise you that she had consumed any extra of any type of substance, whether it be alcohol or narcotics or anything that would have caused you concern about her mental or physical state?
No, sir, she did not. She said she had been drinking alcohol, but nothing other than that.
Okay. You walked through the first floor of the residence to check for people to clear the residence?
Of course.
You didn't notice any lights on inside the house at that time, did you?
None.
Okay. Nothing further, thank you.
May this witness be excused.
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor, there was one thing that I did forget, if I may. I'm sorry. After other detectives, et cetera, arrived, what did you do with the handgun?
I turned over the handgun to the crime scene technician, Investigator Evans, who placed it into evidence.
All right. Thank you, nothing further.
And may this witness be excused.
Yes.
Just ask for him to remain on standby.
Sir, you may step down. You are subject to recall. Make sure you leave a phone number where if called upon, you can get back here in short order.
Yes, sir.
You may step down.
Thank you.
You can step up. And here, when you return, it'll be to the lobby out there. Down in the courtroom, come to the lobby here on the 5th floor where you'll meet the bailiffs. They'll take you by that route that you used this morning to go back to the jury room. So do not come on in the courtroom, come to the lobby, meet the bailiffs. They'll take you back to the jury room. If they're not there immediately, that means they're probably taking someone else. Wait a second, and they'll be right out. Let's have everybody back at 1:20, not later than 1:20 p.m. As I send you out, I'm going to remind you that we're in the course of trial. Accordingly, you're instructed not to discuss the case among yourselves, not to discuss it with anyone else, not to allow anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence, not to speak at all with the attorneys, witnesses, defendant about any subject, not to read or listen to any reports about the case from any source whatsoever, not to do any sort of research, gather information, or communicate about the case or the people or places involved through any means, including electronic devices. Once again, if anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about this case, it's when you tell them you're on the jury trial. In this case, tell them to immediately stop. They persist. You leave them at once. As soon as possible, you'll go ahead and tell one of the bailiffs who in turn will advise me. With that reminder of important instructions, we'll see you after lunch.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please leave your notes.